a man who's celebrating 20 years of PFT.
Wow.
On the 1st of November. And he's got a book coming out as well that you can pre-order right now on Amazon. Here to talk about all of that, the author of Playmakers, How the NFL Really Works and Doesn't. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon. It's coming out next March, I think just in time for the new league year. But the current league year is about to begin. Let's talk about it with Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. How are you, Mike?
Doing great, Rich. Great to be with you as always.
Right back at you.
I like the title of that book on ESPN's anniversary.
That's right. Playmakers.
Yes.
That'll get the attention.
Copyright law.
That'll get the attention. And so, okay, we'll talk about the book in a second. What's on your mind prior to this league year starting? Like, what do you think is the story of this year that we're about to embark 2 days from now on a football field in Tampa?
Well, I'll press pause for now on the reality that a dark cloud hovers over the NFL again this year with lightning bolts that will periodically knock guys out of games after they test positive for COVID, like Zach Martin most likely missing Thursday night's opener. I'll focus on the Bucs. First time in 40 years the Super Bowl champion has returned all of its starters. They had 8 key free agents. They re-signed all of them. They addressed their third down running back deficiencies by adding Gio Bernard. I think they are in prime position to do what hasn't been done since the 03-04 Patriots with Tom Brady in New England, and that's get back there, climb the mountain again, and win it again. And I know that, look, a lot of things have to fall any team's way. Whoever wins the Super Bowl, many things fall their way. But Tom Brady has shown over the years he's got a knack for making things fall his way and at least getting to the conference championship game and then getting to the Super Bowl and then getting 7 rings and counting. So this feels like, really, for the first time since the 2014 Seahawks after they blew out the Broncos, and I think we all thought, well, they're just going to win another one, this feels like the best chance since then in 7 years for a team to do it again and to make it 2 in a row. And, of course, then the prevailing story next year would be, can they become the first team ever to go 3 in a row?
Right, and then what happens to the 12 in Green Bay? I mean, that's another thing to keep an eye on throughout the entire year is how Green Bay is positioned to potentially stop what you just mentioned from happening, right? Would you agree that they are the team best equipped to prevent it in the NFC, or you're looking at somebody else,
well,
Mike?
The Packers are in the conversation. Rich, think of how different the narrative would have been about the Buccaneers after last season if the 3 balls that Tom Brady threw up for grabs in the second half as that lead frittered away and the Packers had a chance to win that game. If the Packers win that game and Brady has 3 interceptions in a meltdown, my God, the things that we would have been saying about Brady being done, about the Buccaneers having no chance to put it all together again, et cetera, et cetera. So the Packers definitely have the talent, starting with number 12, to have another season in the vicinity of 13-3. They won't go 13-3 because there's another game. But the Saints are a team that I'm still keeping an eye on. They swept the Bucs last year, and they were up 7, third quarter. Jared Cook catches a pass, barrels his way into Tampa Bay territory, and but for a peanut punch style forced fumble by Antoine Winfield Jr., the Saints are going up 10, maybe 14 points, and possibly making it 3-0 against the Bucs last year. So they still have to deal with them. They don't deal with them until Halloween in New Orleans, but the Bucs have to deal with them twice and maybe a third time again. And there's an argument to be made that with Jameis Winston, if Sean Payton can iron out the rough spots, this is a guy who threw for 5,100-plus yards 2 years ago, that the Saints could be every bit as good as they were last year and making them a very significant problem for the Bucs.
How do you see the NFC West shaking out? What do you think of that, Mike?
Well, I think injuries are going to have a lot to do with it. I know Peter King has the Rams getting to the Super Bowl and winning it. My concern is, and we've already seen it happen, Cam Akers out for the year, really hurts the running game. Matthew Stafford's had an injury history. He plays through a lot of injuries, but he's had some injuries he can't play through. When you put so many eggs in so few baskets with Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, star players, and you give up so many draft picks and you put pressure on yourself to draft right and make good decisions, hope that you can build depth with your remaining draft picks after you've traded them away for established players, do you have that depth? And when you don't have the cap space to go out and sign good, solid, veteran level backups and you're relying on young guys to step up. I worry about the Rams. I think that the 49ers, if they can stay healthy, are going to be very good. I don't like the quarterback ambiguity. I'd like them to pick a horse and stick with it. The Seahawks, under Shane Waldron running the offense, I think will be very good like they were last year. The question is, can they sustain it? So I say I'd go Seahawks, 49ers, Rams right now. Very, very tightly jammed together, and all three may make the playoffs. And then there's the Cardinals, and I think the Cardinals, if they don't make the playoffs, I think they'll be one of the teams looking for a new coach come January.
Why do you say that?
Well, when you look at the history of the Cardinals, they've been around for over 100 years. They've never had a coach last longer than 6 years. Two guys made it 6 years, Jim Hannafin and Ken Wisenhunt. Bruce Arians was there 5 years. And this is the year when the Kyler Murray experiment needs to come to fruition. And if it doesn't happen, it's not going to be anyone's fault but the coach who's responsible for getting the most out of Murray. And just some of the things that were said throughout the offseason by guys like GM Steve Kahn, by Murray, who's clearly getting frustrated by not getting to the postseason. I think if it doesn't happen, that's when job number one in Arizona becomes finding the right coach to build the perfect offense around Kyler Murray.
Give me some more hot seats. What do you think?
Well, I think in Minnesota, where Mike Zimmer is setting the stage to be on the hot seat by saying, I think we have a pretty good team. Now we just have to go out and prove it. Rick Spielman, the guy who built the team, is probably very appreciative of that because maybe that means he doesn't get fired if they fail to make it to the playoffs. But they have a weird vibe around them because of the offense. The offense feels like it's fallen off a bit. Now, we didn't see any Dalvin Cook in the preseason, but if that offense doesn't produce at a high level, it's going to be very difficult for them to get to the postseason. And if they fail to make it to the playoffs for 2 straight years, I think Zimmer could be in significant trouble. Beyond that, it's just going to go. I mean, other than Kingsbury and Zimmer, who out there has? I mean, would Mike McCarthy be gone in Dallas? I don't know that they'd fire him after 2 years. Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, easy pick for the hot seat. If he's got guaranteed money in his contract for 2022, Bengals don't fire people and pay them. They want their coaches to work. And Jerry Jones is the same way. It's probably the only thing he has in common with Mike Brown. He doesn't like to pay coaches to not work either. And that guaranteed money for either McCarthy or Taylor beyond this year could help save them. But, we see it every year. I mean, there's going to be bad teams. Everybody's optimistic now. Glass is half full everywhere. Everybody's 0-0. Everybody's got a chance. At the end of the day, every team that's good, that means there's going to be a team that's bad. And, we see it. We saw, 7 last year? It's amazing, the turnover. But, you either win or you're done, and you don't have many chances. And John Gruden should be on the hot seat in Las Vegas, but he's not because Mark Davis isn't going to fire him. Mike Mayock will be gone, I think, if they don't make the playoffs. But Mark Davis is going to keep John Gruden indefinitely into the future.
Mike Florio here on the Rich Eisen Show, Pro Football Talk. Starts our day here on NBC Sports on Peacock every single day at Pro Football Talk on Twitter. What's going on with T.J. Watt in Pittsburgh? What's happening with him?
Well, Mike Tomlin, the coach of the team, said today he's optimistic. They're going to get something done. Excuse me. They have some weird rules. One is, I'm in a coughing fit here. One is...
No worries. Here, go ahead. Go ahead.
Good.
No, go ahead. Get a sip of water.
We're professionals here.
Okay.
I fought through it.
Fought through it.
One is that they have to get contracts done by the start of the season, or that's it. Okay, fine. Well, what's going to happen with Watt if they don't get his contract by the start of the season? They're going to have to break their rule because they've allowed him to show up, not practice, not play, and, just in this weird holding pattern. The other rule that hurts the Steelers here, the fact that they don't give fully guaranteed money beyond the first year of a contract, that's a real problem with Watt. He wants full guarantees beyond this year. Other elite defensive players have gotten full guarantees beyond the first year. But it feels like they're going to get something worked out right up against the deadline-driven business. Look for Watt to make a little bit more than $27 million a year in new money on probably a 5-year extension. The question is going to be how much of it is fully guaranteed at signing.
I mean, again, we're not there. I'm not there. Okay, so I'm not there. But sitting out, it just seems like another situation where teams are like, we don't do it this way, and it's like, well, you do it that way, sure, but why don't you make an exception for this guy? Because you can always mention to other people, well, we did it for T.J. Watt. You're not in that echelon.
You're not T.J. Watt.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's so simple for players to get what they want and for franchises to bend the rule if they just had the ability to not break on the front of looking another player in the face and saying, you're not that person. And you know who's doing that right now? Tampa. Tampa is totally reconfiguring the way that they go about their business for Brady. And they're not worried at all that the next they're not worried at all that Kyle Trask is going to be coming to ask for something, or anybody else on the team is asking for something. You're not Brady. You didn't come here with 6 rings and give us a 7th. It's that simple. And Green Bay put themselves between a rock and a hard place with Rodgers, it seems, because they only do it a certain way. I kind of just it's crazy. I don't understand.
You're right. Look, you have to acknowledge that certain players merit certain treatment, and the Steelers will bend their rules. They did it with Antonio Brown. They don't renegotiate contracts with more than 1 year remaining unless it's quarterback. So he had 3 years left. He wasn't happy with his deal. So they took some money from the next year and moved it into the current year. And then the next year they took money from the last year and moved it into that year. And then the last year they gave him a new contract. Now, we know it all went to hell after that, but they've got ways to work around it if they really want to. But, yeah, for a great player, you just do it. It's T.J. Watt. And having these rules that are separate and apart from the rules that are set forth in the labor deal, it sets you up to not be as competitive as you could be because other teams are going to do it. And it's going to make it harder for you to keep the players you really want to keep if you're stubborn about when you're going to do contracts and what the terms are going to be. And, well, we don't want to put money in escrow for next year. Well, everybody else does it except for the Packers, so you better do it too.
Yeah, I just don't get it. It's mystifying to me. So, but before I let you go, are you on the Bills for this year? What's your AFC thought on that front?
I think there are 9 teams in the AFC, the Bills, the Patriots, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Colts, Titans, Chargers, Chiefs, that are all good enough to, by the time we get to January, be in the playoffs and make some noise in the playoffs. So it's a very difficult top-heavy division. I did go Bills, Bucs as my Super Bowl teams this year, and you know what the hell? Let's throw the folks in Western New York a bone. Let's say the Bills are going to beat the Bucs because we have seen Tom Brady lose 3 Super Bowls, so it's not like it would be unprecedented. He can get there. He just doesn't have the winning percentage in the Super Bowl that he does in pretty much every other level of a season. So, you know, Josh Allen, I think, is spectacular. The glimpse we got of him against the Packers in the preseason shows me that he's ready to pick up where he left off and go next level. There's so many people who think, oh, that was an aberration last year. Well, if you think it was an aberration last year, you're not paying attention.
No.
Last year was the year that Josh Allen, and isn't it amazing that, like, if a quarterback finally breaks through in year 3, what took you so long? It was only year 3, and he becomes phenomenal. And I think he's going to keep getting better and better. And I think the Bills are going to be a force this year. And I think they're ready. They've got the Chiefs Week 5 Sunday Night Football.
Right.
They have to show that they can beat the Chiefs.
Well, that's it.
That's the team they've got to get past. And once they do, they're going to be unstoppable.
Who's the third team in we're not talking about? Because there always is one. What do you got for me?
Oh,
what do you think?
You know, to quote our friend Juju Smith-Schuster, the Browns is the Browns. And I can't get past that.
Can't. You got to. I think you have to, personally, if you don't mind me saying.
It's the helmet. It's everything about, how do you see that same frame on a car and not consider that what's beneath the hood is still a jalopy? And I think that benefits them because you know how it goes every year. There are the teams that are the darlings and everyone circles that game and we're going to prove ourselves. This is a measuring stick game for us. And it may be that teams still look at the Browns and say the Browns is the Browns, like Juju said, and that's going to help the Browns live up to their high expectations. But I think it would be great. I just think, based on the history of the Browns, it doesn't want to compute in my brain that they could make it to the Super Bowl.
I think we got to rewire then. I mean, look, what do you have? What do you need? I guess to win a championship, right? You need a defense that can stop people with a playmaker, maybe on every level, would be helpful. You need a run game, and you need a passing game that can be dynamic because not only who's grabbing the ball and catching the passes, but the one who delivers it can play with such a neck-up ability and calmness and efficiency that you can win. That's the question mark. I don't know if anybody's believing that Baker Mayfield really is a first overall pick. Like, he's not flashing like Andrew Luck. He's not flashing like anybody who's a number one overall pick where it's all fixed and ready to go. I think we still can't get past the fact that John Dorsey chose him first overall, but they've got the reigning coach of the year. They've got Chubb. They've got Garrett. They've got Odell coming back with a massive chip on his shoulder. Why not them? Why not?
And you're right. And what hurts them is 2019, the last time the bar went north for the Browns, and they failed to live up to expectations because they never should have given the job to Freddie Kitchens. And Baker's mechanics went to pot. He had a regression. Stefanski got him on the right track.
Yep.
Second half of last year, he was spectacular. He doesn't have his contract yet. He's going to be motivated by that. If they don't force the ball to OBJ, that's one of the things that they have to get past. It can't be about, we got to get the ball to OBJ, unless they want to do bubble screens and reverses. But if he's running down the field in a pattern with three other guys, Baker's got to have the freedom to throw to the open guy, not we got to get it to Odell Beckham a certain number of times. That has to end, and hopefully Beckham, seeing what the team did without him last year, will end that once and for all, because that's an attitude that keeps a team from being as good as it can be.
Well, I guess when real quick then, when does Baker or Lamar get that deal that Josh Allen got? When is he? What's going on with that?
Well, I think that once Josh Allen did his deal, I think that the quarterbacks who are represented by agents, Allen and Baker Mayfield, I think they waited and hoped that Lamar Jackson would go first since he's not represented by an agent. Now that Allen's deal is done, my guess is Lamar Jackson has said to the Ravens, I'm fine with the same contract. Why don't you give me the same contract? And I don't think the Ravens want to. So that's an impediment. And they just did Mark Andrews last night, gave him huge money, big money for their tight end.
Right.
And my first question is, all right, when's Lamar going to get his? And with Baker, I've said, hey, and cautionary tales, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, you don't want to go too early with a franchise quarterback. It's better to go a little too late than a little too early. But the problem is the moment you know he's the guy, that's when you have to get it done. Otherwise, you back yourself into a corner the way the Cowboys did with Dak Prescott.
Mike, appreciate the time. Keep looking for my call. And, we'll chat, obviously, way in advance of your 20th anniversary on the 1st of November. But congrats on making it to a 20th NFL season with your creation, Pro Football Talk. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Rich. Look forward to talking to you again. Enjoy the start of the season, pal.
You got it. That's Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.